Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
I think we just need to, go our separate ways.
I think you need to let me go.
I don't think he's going to do that. I think she's going to have to just walk away. She seems more resolved and more differentiated from the situation, seeing it as the way that it is, that it's doomed. There's just no way to make this work unless she completely gives in. But even then, the family will not let him marry her, and he doesn't want to disappoint his family, which is understandable. So yeah, I think she's going to have to leave.
I do need you to go because I don't want to prolong this, okay? This is
Oh, but it's her place, so if it was his place, she could go, but she's like, I need you to go.
hard. Okay, we can talk, but just not now. I just need some time to myself.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
It's just heartbreaking. Because on the show, we don't often see, and they don't show it to us, love and compassion and care and chemistry and compatibility. We don't often see that. And to see it just ruined by what in my perspective, is a misapplication or I don't know. Yeah, I've already been over it, but it's just a tragedy.
You can say it's like an arrow in my heart, a very deep pain inside me. I'm feeling like that I'm totally alone in this world and hopeless.
Yeah. I mean, at least for Jen, she could say, well, maybe there's another fella out there for me. For him, for him, he's much more restricted in his future. His options are much more restricted, right? Now, presumably, there's other people who his family would approve of that wouldn't mind or might even want to live with his family. So, which makes me also wonder, what was the unconscious motivation here? Because maybe he deep down has a lot of anger, I wouldn't be surprised, towards his family and doesn't want to live with them, and became engaged to Jen in this very passive-aggressive way against his family. It was his way, in a very dysfunctional way, of trying to rebel, trying to get out. But in the end, he's not willing to follow through with it, right? So, in the beginning, 3 years ago, when he's first flirting with her, he knows all that he knows. He knows all the facts, because he doesn't seem surprised. But he's not like, oh, my family, I knew they were rigid, but I didn't know they were that rigid. She's not saying anything like that. So presumably he knew all this. And why would you even engage in a relationship with someone knowing all that? Especially continue it past the initial phase of it, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if he has been mistreated a lot growing up, and he suppressed his anger and his assertiveness, which makes a lot of sense, not right, when you think about all the things. And yet he has a tremendous amount of anger that sneaks out in passive ways.
अरे मम्मी सुनो मेरी बात.
हाँ.
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, अब आप परमिशन चाहे करो चाहे नहीं करो, ठीक है, मैं उसके साथ शादी करने वाला हूँ, मे बी 6 महीने या 1 साल के अंदर में.
Okay, he said it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so there was a lot of talk with Jen and Rishi, confronting Rishi about his very obscure, shady way of talking about things. Danielle actually pointed something out that I hadn't caught, which was that the mom, Rishi's mom, also has that trait as well. It's hard to know if it's the exact same thing, but the mom to the audience, and also when the mom was talking in India to Jen's friends, the mom would say one thing, but then meant something entirely different behind the scenes, right? I don't know if that's exactly the same as Rishi, but, you could argue maybe it is somewhat similar. I mean, you could argue that Rishi's mom is just being polite because that's what you're supposed to do, because you're in an impossible situation where you're talking with foreigners about your culture or something. So you just say, well, we'll just say this to them, but we all understand there's something different. But anyway, so lots of talk with Jen and Rishi got back together again, and Rishi believes that they're still engaged. Jen was saying, no, we're not. And there was a lot of talk and trying to clarify, and it kind of looked like it was just going to end. Jen was getting frustrated because Rishi was being shady again. And I think Rishi genuinely loves Jen, but he's just in an impossible situation, as we've already been over and seen. I will say that the other cast members don't, well, not all of them. I mean, Nicole seems to get where Rishi is coming from, and some of the other people not from the United States, but a lot of the other Americans are just like, you need to choose Jen over your family. And I'm thinking, have you not seen Jenny and Summit? I mean, I wonder if even after watching Jenny and Summit, people interpret that as Summit not valuing Jenny very much and Rishi not valuing Jen very much. You could argue it's the opposite. For Rishi and Summit to love these individuals, to love Jen and Jenny, there's so many other barriers that they have to overcome, so many other risks that they're taking. It's Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. So I think that Rishi genuinely does love Jen, but he is just in an impossible situation. Anyway, so they're really holding his feet to the fire, and I didn't think he would do this, but he actually did. I didn't think he wanted it. This is what I was thinking when Jen's friends just bulldozed in Rishi's house and just said, hey, by the way, did you know that they're engaged or something like that? And at the time I was like, oh boy, that's not cool. You should talk with Rishi about that before doing that. And why are the friends doing that? Why isn't Jen doing it? But I thought, not okay. But at the same time, maybe Rishi, because Rishi didn't seem to be completely flipping out, and he didn't flip out afterwards either. So I wondered if Rishi wanted it kind of to happen that way, or wasn't intending on it being that way, but was like, well, maybe this will get the ball rolling. So they're really going after him to tell, Jen's like, look, either you tell your parents right now, you tell your family right now that we're getting married within the year, or we're done. And he is now doing it. Now, it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. Also, the family could say, well, okay, we'll give in on the marriage, but you're absolutely living with us. And then Jen's right back where she started. So it seems like this is a major step forward, but I somehow doubt it. I could absolutely imagine after this that Rishi goes to the family and says, well, we're still flexible, or we're still friends, and recants this entire thing. I could absolutely see that happening. I have a much harder time imagining that Rishi moves forward with actually getting married to Jen within the year and also doesn't live at home. I just can't imagine that happening. Hey, deserving listeners, today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we are faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. And some of you might even be facing a tough choice right now. Well, for me, I like to fully explore all the options. That usually helps me to feel more confident moving forward. And sometimes it really helps to talk with someone and get their perspective and maybe their wisdom. And of course, therapy can help with this. I never planned on specializing in this area when I started out as a therapist, but over time, a lot of clients have come to me when they are facing tough choices that they're having a hard time figuring out what to do. Well, one option worth exploring is BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's worth giving a try. It's entirely online, it's designed to be convenient and suited to your schedule, and also you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. So, let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
नहीं हम इस चीज को स्वीकार नहीं कर सकते.
She said he cannot get married.
Oh, thanks. Jen, how do you feel now that Rishi has told his mom that he plans to marry you without her permission?
It sounds great, but it's a lot of talk, not a lot of action. You know what? If it happens, otherwise, I gotta move on.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. She's like, okay, it sounds great. And if it happens, great. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to move on. I think that's the differentiated way of looking at it. Because, if it happens, then all's well, right? But it's not just getting married. It's living outside of the house.
Like, let's just say there was an opportunity that may or may not have come up, and I may or may have not given my phone number to somebody that,
Could be a potential.
yes,
Who'd you give your phone number to, Jen?
well, it was somebody's son.
You are so full of and you're lucky you.
Okay, so I guess maybe Debbie was being a matchmaker, or Jen just approached him or something. Okay, interesting. I don't know. I feel I didn't show the scenes. Rishi and Jen both were crying a lot. They're both just victims of circumstance, and Rishi seems like a good person. So, and Gabe is saying, I think you should just move on. And Tim and Veronica were kind of saying a very similar thing. It's just like it's kind of doomed. They seem like good people, like they love each other, but there's just no way around this, right? So it's sad. And then for Jen to be saying, look, I love him, and if actual things start happening, then maybe I'm into it, but I'm not going to wait around any longer. I've wasted a lot of years up to this point, so I'm going to start dating, and there's a fella that I'm interested in. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I react to this reality TV show called 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, published in 2023. And everyone, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.